Hello and welcome back to ThoughtBot's AI in Focus. I'm Chad Pytel, Rails developer and founder and CEO of ThoughtBot, and I'm joined again today by Svenja, developer at ThoughtBot, development team lead at ThoughtBot.
Yes, it's a dinosaur. Hello, everyone. I'm Svenja, development team lead and developer at ThoughtBot.
And Svenja is back on the show today. Last time we explored building a voice-driven drive-through automation. Today we are going to do maybe something a little less exciting.
No.
No? We'll try to make it exciting. And that is we have a spam filter for inbound submissions at ThoughtBot. And right now that uses a Bayesian filter for spam checking. And I would like to explore whether we can instead use embeddings to power that spam checker.
First of all, spam emails are so exciting. I just before this live stream, I asked Chad if he saw the TED Talk from 2015. It's called, how is it called? I forgot it. It's a TED Talk about
what happens when you respond to spam emails or something like that.
Exactly. And if you haven't watched it, you definitely have to watch it, because that's when the fun begins. And maybe that's a future step for us to do. We can talk about it when we implement it and using embeddings.
Well, maybe we can do a thing where when we detect that something is spam, we use ChatGPT to generate a response to it.
Exactly. That was the idea I had, because that would be really nice. Of course, it would include dinosaur puns or whatever we come up with. But yeah, I would really like that. Before we start, I have so many questions, because when we said we would talk about embeddings, I just what are embeddings? I translated it into German, because for the people who don't know, I'm German and sometimes my brain does not work when it comes to English. And I thought, embeddings must have a proper translations, but no, they're just seriously embeddings. Why are they called embeddings? What do they do?
Yeah. So I actually didn't know. I know what embeddings are. I didn't know where the name comes from. So we looked up right before we went live, and we couldn't find a good explanation. It does come from the machine learning concept of embeddings, but why it's called that to begin with, I wasn't able to find a quick answer. So if you are watching and you happen to know, drop it in the chat. We're paying attention to chat all throughout the stream today. If we get stuck along the way, or you have a question for us, feel free to drop it in on whatever platform you're watching this on, and we can see it. So let us know you're out there.
Yes, please.
Yeah, so I don't know why it's called that, but if you are, we've used embeddings on the stream before. We implemented a related articles feature on our blog, and that's the kind of thing that embeddings can be used for. As in terms of what embeddings are like a fundamental building block of machine learning models and machine learning, where you convert um, words, a picture, whatever, into a multidimensional vector of numbers. And it's basically taking a whole bunch of stuff, converting it into a bunch of numbers in this mathematical construct. And you can then use that you can say, well, what other, in our case, articles for the blog are similar to this, and it can give you back the similar articles. And Postgres supports vector storage now. Historically, that might have been you had to use a separate database or a vector store specifically separate from Postgres. But there is an extension for Postgres. It's on AWS automatically. It's on Heroku automatically to be able to add vector column types to our database.
Cool. So instead of finding now related articles, we know we will have some spam emails, so we need to train it, and then we say, okay, this is likely a spam.
Well, one of the cool things about using embeddings is that this is one downside to our current process. We actually did need to train. So we mark things as spam manually in our database. And then we ran a tool to output data that can be used to compare against. We've started to get a lot of false negatives where spam is getting through. And the way that we would need to do that is mark it as spam again, and then retrain the Bayesian filtering on that. One of the benefits and why this is intriguing to me about using embeddings is, in theory, it doesn't require any training, because what we're going to do is we're going to mark everything. We've already marked everything in the database as spam. So if when a new thing comes in, we say, how similar is this item to all of the spam using embeddings? And if it's close, then it's likely spam. And so that means that it will automatically start to improve without any retraining, because we're going to do if someone marks something manually as spam, it will automatically be included next time we go to check how close is the next incoming thing to spam.
Great.
You follow what I'm saying?
Yes,
Okay.
I do. Love that. So now you said closest, and
Yeah.
then in my head it comes up, because for the related articles we use the neighbor gem, but do I pronounce it correctly? Uncanny?
Yeah.
Uncanny, yeah. We're gonna use it again?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
So let's go over to the code and look at the
Yes.
current way things are, so we can get a lay of the land. Then we're back in our friendly Rails app called Hub, which we're often working on the stream. It's an internal system at Thoughtbot, and actually, when Casper was on the stream a few weeks ago, we actually started our work. It was unrelated, but we started our work in this opportunity processor. So this part of the code has been on the stream before. So this is the controller that receives the initial form submissions, and it saves it. And the reason why, if we generally speaking, it's very important that every form submission successfully gets saved. So we have very few validations on that model. We have very few callbacks that might error or prevent something, because no matter what, we want to save that form submission so that it's in the database and we've got it. And then what we do is we have a processor that does the extra stuff on the opportunity after it's already been successfully saved. So, and that happens for every single opportunity. And you can see it's a job and it's performed later. So that happens in the background.
Nice.
So let's go over to that processor. So the first thing it does is it updates the source from how did you hear about us? So there's a field where people can check. It used to be a type in field where people could type in how did they hear about us. Now it's a series of options. But we want to convert that we want to use the option selected mapped to like another database of sources in our CRM. So that's a kind of example of what it's doing, the kinds of things it's doing. We don't want to do that in advance, because if something goes wrong, it might prevent it from being saved. We do it after the fact. Then the second thing we do is check and mark spam. So here's this method. So if the opportunity is a lead, which means essentially it's inbound from a potential customer, not entered in by one of us, and check spam.perform, then mark as spam. So if we go over to check spam, this is not a job. It just is it has a perform method, but it's not a job. Remember, all of this stuff is happening in a background job, so we don't necessarily need to spin out additional background jobs. And it uses classifier.classify. Classifier.
Okay.
Yeah.
Embedding embed.
So I think there's a gem called Classifier Reborn. That's what we're currently using. So this is using Marshall.load. Have you ever used Marshall load before?
No.
It's built into Ruby.
Well, not on purpose, at least. Not maybe I use it, but no.
So Marshall is what like original serialization and deserialization built into Ruby. So you can basically dump a Ruby object to disk and then reload it, and it will reinstantiate itself and all that stuff. And so in this case, this is a dumped, and this is what, if we look up the docs for Classifier Reborn, this is one of the ways it says you can get it to work. Basically, you do a bunch of classification, which builds up this Ruby object of the model, and then you Marshall dump it to disk. So then you can Marshall load it and you get the classifier reinstantiated.
Okay.
And then that has a classify method, and we give it the opportunity description. It returns the word spam if it is spam. So what we're doing is we're checking, does spam equal spam? If it does, then that's going to return true. So we have, if it's a lead and it's spam, then mark it as spam. And for marking as spam, it just updates the status of the opportunity to spam, sets it to unqualified, and sets the loss reason to spam.
That sounds good. Do you know how many spam we got? Of course you know.
I don't know. There's not a scope for finding the spam, so we can do loss reason spam.
Loss reason, yeah.
Or status spam. I have a somewhat old production database dump that's been obfuscated.
Just like together.
Yeah.
Not a random, but just like an idea.
2,834 spam submissions.
Lots of answers AI will need to find.
Yeah. Okay, so general approach here. We need to go to OpenAI to get the embedding, or we need to go to a LLM to get the embedding. So I think we want to do that. We want to do that basically here. We want to get it, embed it, save the embedding, and then do the check for spam.
Okay.
And I think if this is we're not just using, my plan is that we want to save the embedding on the opportunity and actually update it as the opportunity changes, because I would like to be able to use embeddings for future features around finding similar things that we've won before. So you can envision, like, after an opportunity gets to a certain phase in the process, we could start to show, oh, here are other opportunities that we've won, or here's this opportunity, here's the case study for the project. And we might be able to share that with more easily find relevant case studies to share with the potential client.
That's great. I like that.
So we want to embed we want to generate embeddings for all opportunities. We'll start when they first come in, and then we'll keep them updated along the way. Okay.
So just like a question. So an embedding has always, like, how do you, when we say we want to use embeddings on opportunities, what's the identifier for an embedding? Like, how do we know if the embedding is like a spam embedding or it's a...
I think we want to generate an embedding for all opportunities. And then we're going to find, when a new opportunity comes in, what we're going to do is we're going to find other similar opportunities. And if those similar opportunities are spam, then this one is likely spam.
Okay. Got that.
So we have pretty good specs for opportunity processor. If I just load them. So we're describing perform. We run the spam checker on a lead opportunity, does not run the spam checker on a prospect opportunity, notifies external, does enrichment. Those are things later in the process. So right now we use. Oh, sorry. Let's take a step back. We're using the OpenAI gem for this. That gem is already installed in the application because we're already using it for some other LLM functionality that we have in the app that we've actually created on the stream previously, in terms of prompting, being able to do RAG against our company handbook, and to be able to answer questions from that internal documentation. So that same gem has a way to generate embeddings. So you say, this is the OpenAI client. You do embeddings. You give it the model you want and the input, and it returns an embedding. Now that embedding is a very large data structure of numbers. Then we're going to store that in our vector column. I mentioned we were going to use PG vector. You mentioned we'll use the neighbor gem. That's a Ruby gem to do nearest neighbor searching. And so that's the lay of the land. I think what we're going to want to do is, in opportunity processor, we're going to want to call something that generates an embedding for an opportunity. And even though we're in a background job here, I think we want that to be I don't want to prematurely get ahead of ourselves, but since I said I want to be able to generate embeddings and update embeddings all the time, I'm thinking introducing the ability to generate embedding as a job, and we'll call that job inline here right now. But that automatically gives us the ability to add that job to other places we want and have it run in the background if we need.
Yeah.
So if we add a spec for it generates an embedding for the opportunity. What shall we call our we usually prefix what do we want to call it? Generate embedding.
I'm still thinking about the word embedding.
You're really hung up on that.
Yeah, for me, seriously, it does not make sense. I don't understand why it's called embedding. But
yeah, if anybody knows, we're still looking for it in the chat. No one has. No.
Why is it called embedding? Why?
Okay, so I'm just setting up that we're going to have this opportunity job generate embedding class. It's going to we're setting it up so that it can receive perform now, and then I'm just adding an expectation that it did receive perform now. And then we will create an opportunity. Oh, and this should be with opportunity.
Oh, with opportunity, yeah.
We'll use FactoryBot to create an opportunity.
Does it need to stay the lead, to be a lead?
It doesn't. No, I think we're going to do it for everything, no matter what, so that there's no, it doesn't need to be a particular kind.
Status also doesn't matter?
Yeah, it doesn't.
Nothing.
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
So basically,
then we call that.
I think if we call that. Now I'm noticing that these other specs here stub out like Apollo service, which is an enrichment service. So I'm wondering whether we're going to run into a problem about that. But let's run this spec and see what happens. Okay. Uninitialized constant opportunity job generate embedding. So let's for a second I thought it needed to have job at the end of the name, and I got scared, but
No, but I just like see that we sometimes call it like that. The re-enrichment opportunity job, for example.
we have a class in this app called Safer Job. It's pretty cool. What it does is it rescues from deserialization errors. So this helps you if you background a job using a active record model, and then that model gets deleted or is no longer available. That will normally result in an exception, and the job will just keep on running over and over again until it exhausts itself for the number of retries. But if instead you rescue from that deserialization error, it won't attempt to run it again.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know what I'm going to implement
now. Okay, so I created that class. So now if we run it,
we get a new error message. That's good.
Yeah. So what it's complaining is trying to do a request against Apollo. If we go over that opportunity, it's because it's because of this. So I actually feel like we should. No, I don't want to get distracted with it now, but we should change how these specs, rather than stubbing everything out. We should be able to turn them off or something. But that's unrelated to our current task, so we have to stay on task.
Stay on task. Eat a dinosaur. By the way, I don't have any dinosaurs today. So
I was thinking we would use when we're generating spam, it could be dinosaur-based spam.
Oh, well. You could also use the German pretzel, which I just called waffles because mine is not working anymore. Yeah.
Okay, so the failure we're getting now is we expected the generate embedding class to be called with perform now, and that happened 0 times.
Which we expect, but we want to see that it's, yeah. I really like to see failed specs. I'm always very, how do you say that? Like cautious if a test passes on first try, something must be wrong. So.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so now I added that call and it passes.
Yeah. Done. Okay.
Done. We're done. But if we go over to that job, it's empty. It has the perform now method because it's a job already. So it got that method automatically, which I actually am a little surprised by. I would have expected that it would have said, because we didn't implement perform either, but hey.
Maybe it was spam.
Yeah. Okay, so now we want to add some actual specs for this behavior of this class, of this job. Okay. It generates an embedding using OpenAI. So I have to admit, and this will be a good discussion as we get to this part, testing this is a little tough because we have a choice. We could either stub out we don't want to be hitting OpenAI in our specs.
No, that can become a bit expensive.
Yeah, and slow.
And slow, yeah.
So we can either stub out OpenAI directly in our specs and stub out the gem and that when we calls this way, return this response. The other is we could actually create a fake OpenAI service. We do that, like we in this app we have fake GitHub service, which is a Sinatra app that responds, that duplicates in test responses the way the actual GitHub APIs respond. And you can sort of mount that Sinatra app and use webmock to say when a request is made to this URL, talk to our Sinatra app instead. Right now, we don't have that with OpenAI at all. It might be nice to introduce an OpenAI fake.
Yeah. I would suggest first we start with stubbing.
Yeah. Okay. So I find it helpful to just, this is what the call is going to look like. So we're going to have the OpenAI client. And that's going to have an embedding embeddings method, and that's I have it here. Oh wait, no, I didn't copy. It's right here. So this is where what the response is.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a hash with a data and then an array and then an embedding. Oh wait, and then a hash, an embedding, and then what embeddings look like is they're essentially an array of numbers. So we can do that. I think we can.
Nice.
Okay. And then allow OpenAI client with a capital C to receive new and return our double. Okay, so when we call generate opportunity job, generate embedding, thanks, Dyson. Dyson says that the stream, the ID stopped updating a minute ago.
Oh no.
Let me know if it's still not updating. Good now. Okay,
Good
great.
now. Great.
Wonderful.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Dyson.
Okay, so when we call this, what we're going to expect is that opportunity dot embedding equal to equal 1, 2, 3.
Just like wanted to say, we need the opportunity, right?
Yeah. Sometimes I like to not okay, so
So
we
we
need
can
to
override them.
we're going to need to reload that.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, let's run it.
Okay, not implemented error. Perform now is not implemented. Cool. So that tells us exactly what we need to do. We need to implement the perform method. It takes an opportunity. We'll create a private method with the client.
For the OpenAI client, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So it's client.embeddings. Actually, it was I'm looking at cheating at parameters. So there are a few different models that OpenAI has supported over the years for embeddings. The important thing with embeddings is they don't translate between different models. So the model is generating the embedding that your embedding is specific to that model. So you need all your embeddings to use the same model.
Okay.
So we're gonna there's a newer model. It's called text embedding 3 large. The docs on the Ruby OpenAI gem say text embedding ADA 002. This is an older model. I've done some testing. We actually did it on the stream, if I remember right. We get better results with the newer thing. So the embeddings are improved with the newer models.
What's the larger one? Yeah, the 3. Yeah.
And then we say input. So in this case, we can embed anything from the opportunity that we want. We'll start with the description because that's what the spam checker needs. But we could also add additional fields like the source and that kind of thing.
Okay. So, but the source is what they heard from us, or is the source like okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess a description makes a. Oh, we also have. Do we also have the opportunity like contact email?
We do, yeah.
Is that not also indication? Well, less text, right? But when you see some email addresses, it's quite obvious if it's spam or not. But yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get
so
it.
we could do that. We could do here. Let's make a method.
Oh, I like that. Yes.
I could be wrong, but this doesn't need to be a string if I remember right. I could be wrong, but
We
I think
can
what I'm
test it.
saying is I think this doesn't need to be a string, so we can give it an array of actually, I wonder if we can give it a hash where we say I forget what it's. Oh, it's just .email.
Okay.
And then there's a name field, contact name. And there's also an opportunity name, which is what we ask them what the name of their project or business is.
Yeah, but the name is not required, right? Like the product name, yes, but
The product name, yeah. So we could
but
do
the other
name,
one,
email.
I'm thinking of all these spam opportunities.
And then description. I don't know for sure that we can pass a hash, so we'll find out together.
Yes, I like that. Welcome to our OpenAI test and trial.
Undefined local variable or method opportunity for an instance of opportunity job. Oh, okay.
Didn't we? Oh.
I just realized that I have Copilot turned off, which is why I'm not getting good suggestions. Okay, undefined method embedding for an instance of opportunity. That makes sense. It is now doing that request and trying to read out the embedding. And that doesn't exist. So
right, yeah, we did not.
We can add it. Rails G migration, add embedding to opportunities. Oh wait. There's we don't have the extension enabled in our schema.rb. So actually we need to run this Rails generate neighbor vector.
All right, because it's on a different one. Yes.
Oh, I didn't install the gem. So let's do that.
We just talked about it. But,
yeah, we talked about it and then didn't do it. We weren't there. We were test driving.
Yeah.
So we bundle. Okay, now if we run that, we should.
Nice.
So this is what that looks like. It just calls enable extension vector. But then we need that migration to be run before the one we generated. Okay.
Embedding. We still haven't heard anything from anyone out there.
I know.
Why the heck is it called embedding? Seriously. Why?
The world may never know.
No. I would send spam emails. I'm gonna send spam
Okay, so now we have
emails.
a vector column added to our opportunities table. That was easy.
Yeah.
So if we run this now, we expected 1, 2, 3, we got nil. And
Okay,
that
let's
is
see what we did.
perfect. It's because we didn't do anything with that.
Oh yeah, good.
So if we remember, we dig the response. Undefined local variable or method response, because
we just like it. Yes, talked about it. Nice. What did we achieve?
now we have a job that can be used for embedding so we're doing testing outside, and we started on the outside. We went down to this job that is doing the embedding. So if we start popping back up the stack now, we go back to opportunity processor, and that's where we were calling that job.
Great.
So we're now generating embeddings. So that, and now we're ready to do the spam check. That's the check spam class. There's existing specs for that class. When the description is spam, it returns true. Oh, this is where, okay, so the testing strategy here is we're stubbing the classifier to receive, classify, and return spam. And then when it's not spam, so we're stubbing it to be not spam, the result is false. So
first, we have to decide: do we want to use the description or the email or the name or a combination? So we can start with the description because we have it, but then.
Well, the description actually doesn't matter. Like I'm looking at this spec here because it's not actually doing the class. It's stubbing out the classification. So what this description is actually doesn't matter. It's only what the classifier returns, spam or not spam. So you could I'll run this spec here. It's going to pass. It's going to pass even if I remove this description because it's not actually doing spam checking on the description.
Yeah. Well, sure. But in order for it to be descriptive, we should add a spam description.
Yeah. Okay. So what we're going to do here is when the opportunity is just when the opportunity is similar to existing spam, it should return true. So this is where I think we get into this is something I struggled with the related articles as well, because these vectors are very large. I don't know how to populate them with real things that actually allow us to do active record queries against them. One idea I have would be to make a fixture file that has an embedding of an actual spam opportunity, and one that has an embedding data of a not spam. And then we could build an opportunity. We can create an opportunity that has that real embedding.
Like the spam embedding.
Like the spam embedding, yeah.
Yeah.
Because we also don't want to hit OpenAI to generate an embedding. We need an example embedding to be able to use. It actually doesn't even need to be a real spam embedding. It just needs to be a real embedding. And then we give something close to it.
Okay. How can we do that? To fake embedding.
We could generate a real one and then save it.
Yeah. Huh?
So
now comes the fun part. I knew it.
What's the fun part?
Generating fun spam.
Actually, we should test this while we're here.
The embedding data.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, so that resulted in a 400 error from OpenAI. Let's just okay. So we can't pass in a hash. That's okay. I know you're disappointed.
Yeah. Of course. We just passed in. So sorry, we just passed in. Just passed in a string now, right? For the test.
Yeah, I'm changing the actual code to pass in a string, but I always forget the here doc syntax.
Okay.
Do you?
Is it smaller than? The tilde. In one language it's called the tilde, and then it's just str. Wait, let me check.
I always forget this.
Is it 2? No.
It's 2 lessons.
It's 2 lessons.
There we go. Okay.
Let's try it. Let's create one more.
So here we can see in the terminal here, you can see what an embedding actually looks like. So it's this array of floating point numbers, and it's quite large. I think it's 2048, something like that. Floating point number, something like that.
Yeah. No, I just like told you before, when I saw embeddings for the first time, I just like, oh no. Then I saw all the numbers and said, nah, that's not fun. That does not look good.
So I didn't save that. Oh, I did save it in response. Okay, great. So we have that as an array. Just thinking about how we want to save this into a fixture file. What kind of, we could export it as JSON and then load in the JSON from the file and parse it to Ruby.
Yeah.
Okay.
We call it embedding.
Yeah.
Very disappointed folks out there. Still no answer.
I actually think if we do so what did I do? I just did the string testing.
Yes.
We need to generate an embedding for something that is very different than the word testing.
Dinosaur.
Yeah, okay.
I knew I would get that. Spam.
Dinosaur spam?
Dinosaur spam.
No. Because we're doing the not spam one now.
Okay.
Okay.
And it's a dinosaur.
Oops. Then okay, so now we have this hash of embeddings. One has the string, the symbol spam. The other one not spam. Embeddings.toJSON. You know off the top of your head how to output a file in Ruby there, Svenja?
You ask questions today. Just like, can I just like eat my treats? Yeah. No, of course not.
I know in general, but I don't. Yeah, file.open.
File open. Yeah, it files it. Yeah.
You can also do
Just
file.write.
right. Yeah.
File name, content. Okay.
That was easy. That was very straightforward. That's not like file embed. Also, that would make sense. That would make sense. Yes.
I don't know what directory this is going to be in. Spec fixtures.
Most likely have a few, right? Files.
Did that? Oh. Yeah, spec fixtures, files, embeddings.
Yep.
JSON.
Let's see it. Huh. There it is.
Cool. So now in our specs.
Wait, can you open it again? Does
Yeah.
it have both or only spam?
It has
Both, right? Yeah.
no.
No.
This is a very bad way of checking. Embeddings.keys.
but there it is.
Yeah.
Where's a dinosaur? What?
No, it's there.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
There it is. Whew, crisis averted.
Yeah, I like to double check. Yeah, sorry.
It's okay. Okay, check spam spec is where we're doing this. So actually don't, is that the best way to do that?
We can just we can just read the file, or we can use the fixture path, right? File fixture path.
File fixture,
Oh,
yeah.
file
That's
fixture.
what we want, and then we call it .read on it.
Yeah.
Embeddings P1 embeddings.json. So that's going to load embedding, and then we set the embedding to embeddings spam. This needs to be a create.
What was it before?
It was a build before.
Okay.
So we need to have this be spam. So status.
Oh, right. Yes. Oh, yeah. Okay.
So we're creating an opportunity that has the same exact embedding as the one we're checking, and this one is going to be spam. So now when we do, what we're going to do is we're going to say, give us similar opportunities to the one we're checking. And, are they spam? And if so, then this one's likely spam. So then for the false case, Actually, we don't even need the not spam one, but we want to include the dinosaur. So
Yes, please. I mean, yes. What would be the status then? Just like.
Now that I type that out again and you ask that question,
One.
Incoming step. Yeah, we can do one. But there's not a constant for that. The lowercase one is a status, not a step. Sorry, a step, not a status. No, wait.
Statuses? No, it's only spam, pending, lost, paused.
Yeah, the status of spam. Okay. So it is a status, so we do one. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so now this one is not spam, and so it's going to be false.
Let's run the true one.
Yeah.
the true one. And we received false.
Yeah. We haven't changed our implementation yet. So now instead of the classification, we are going to use the neighbor gem. So if we go over to this, it has nearest neighbors.
And then all these words that I can't and will never be able to pronounce.
Euclidean?
What? How? How? Euclidean.
Yes, you did it.
Euclidean. Okay, now I need the translation into German. That's what very often my day looks like, but same with embeddings. Yeah. Euclidean. Yeah. Sounds nice.
So there's two ways of doing this. There's this way, which is the yes, Dyson points out that Euclid is the mathematician's name. I think it is Greek, I guess.
Sounds like.
You can call nearest neighbors on a particular active record, or you could do it on the class. So I'm not sure whether what we want to do is whether we want to, have a scope that is opportunity.spam, and that's going to give us only the spam records. And then if we said nearest to the opportunity that we're checking.
Mm-hmm.
And then if we look at the docs, it has a neighbor distance. So that would give us the distance. And that's going to tell us a specific number that is the distance. And we could set a threshold on that.
Okay.
The other way to do it would be that we're checking if we don't do it just against spam, but we do it against all opportunities. and we ask for the nearest neighbor, if the nearest neighbor to the opportunity we're checking was spam, then that's very likely that this one is spam. And that way we're not setting a threshold. We're just saying, like, out of all the opportunities we've ever seen, is the one that's closest to this one spam? That seems like a good place to start.
Yeah, I would have said the other way around.
You would have said the other way around?
It feels just like safer, but yeah, to find the nearest neighbor to spam when we detect spam already. But maybe I'm missing something.
Opportunity dot nearest. Was it neighbors? Yeah, embedding distance Euclidean.
Okay.
So if the
Yes.
first nearest neighbor, the opportunity that is most similar to this one is spam,
Then it's spam.
then it's spam.
Then I return to okay. Yes.
I think our spec is going to pass with that. Oh, okay. Undefined method nearest neighbors for an opportunity. We never added has neighbors.
Yes. So now that you said Euclid was a dude, just a name, why do we use it as a distance and Dyson? Explain this to me.
Answer me this, Dyson.
Answer me this. Please.
Okay, undefined method spam for nil.
Oh.
Why was that? We should handle the nil case, but I'm curious why. I'm curious why this one. We created an opportunity with an embedding. We created another one that is spam with the same embedding. And then the nearest neighbor was nil.
Yeah, what does nearest neighbor returns? Sorry.
It returned an empty array, and first was nil. I'm gonna run. I added a debugger. I'm gonna run the specs. I have a theory about what is going on.
Okay.
Embeddings is nil. Yeah. This is a string, right? Now, yeah, coming out of the JSON.
Yes.
Okay. So those were both being nil. So embeddings were nil. And I bet a nil embedding has no nearest neighbors. That's my guess. There we go.
Yay! That was fast, Dyson.
Okay, we need to change these to strings. So now the nearest neighbor is a 1 opportunity, and so it's not being categorized as spam.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So dinosaur 1. We generate embeddings. We did not set a threshold because we run it on all. Yes.
Yes. We need to handle that nil case. So if there are no nearest neighbors. When the opportunity is not similar to existing spam. Okay. And then describe when there are no similar existing opportunities. It turns false.
Yeah, that's the safest option.
And it's not going to be marked as spam then. So if we just create one opportunity, we need to load the embeddings from the fixture file. We used a let here. It wouldn't load the fixture multiple times. Just saying.
No, that's the first thing I
think
heard
that's
when
one of the most valid use cases for using a let.
I don't use it at all because the first time I used it, when I joined Thoughtbot, I just don't let, which is an amazing blog post. But I'm sure everyone read it by now.
Okay, so this is it should result in an error.
Because we don't handle it, yeah. Nice.
So I think we can just fix that with this.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's not going to be false. It's going to be nil in that case. How do we want to?
I like to be explicit about it and to just use if and otherwise return false.
So how would you write that? Would you write it like...
No. Yeah, yeah. No, I was just on the first, but we don't want to check for that one. Yeah. But
it's going to be green.
But did you run all of them? No.
No, I can though.
What do you... Okay, here's
I have an idea.
Okay, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
I know that we... Oh gosh, shall I say that? Yes, I do. Because I just otherwise you will always see that in my face. What do you think of if-else statements written like that?
I just refactored it. Red, green, refactor. Oh, failed.
What did we get? No. But no.
Yeah, it's failing because this is false. So
Yeah.
false. No, that's.
We don't check for spam.
Oh, right. Cool.
Okay. I love that. I really like that. And I have to say, I absolutely hate if else statements. Maybe I just like wrote lots of JavaScript. And I just like the one liner.
Well,
Yeah.
but I don't disagree with you, but the process that I just went through is what I will typically do, which is like write just the first thing that comes to mind for me, even if it is a more complicated if where I had the assignment and everything. And then it's like, okay, then it becomes more obvious to me how to refactor that to be cleaner.
And that looks nice. Okay. Do we have the spam filter now?
We have a spam filter now. We can remove this. We have a spam filter now. So, this is great. Now we don't know whether it actually works or not.
Well, we know that.
Okay, if we go to our console and let's embed some spam, some actual spam. So opportunity where status. So remember there was okay, those. So I'm generating embeddings for all the spam opportunities. I probably should have just done like 100 of them.
No, that looks like spam. But can you call this? I mean, it's I not in AI terms, but for me, this is training.
Yeah, this is not training because we're just generating embeddings for. So we're just taking those descriptions and everything, and we're saying, give us the mathematical representation of this thing.
But we still did not know. We still don't know what embeddings really, why they're called embeddings. So
And we still don't. And you just have to let it go, Svenja. We're not going to find the answer.
I can't. When I have something like that, I really can't. I will spend my evening just like, finding the person who called it embedding for the first time and then ask them why they didn't call it Euclid. Thank you, Dyson. I could not agree more.
Okay, I'm going to stop this. And then we'll do opportunity 1. We'll let it do a bunch of them, and then we'll pick one that is spam, and that's not yet embedded. We'll generate an embedding for it, and then we'll see if it gets detected as spam.
I like it. I'm very excited.
Okay, so
kite cookie.
Okay, one opportunity. And then spam opportunity. But we don't need a spam. We need a spam opportunity that hasn't been embedded yet. Spam.
Mm-hmm.
Embeddings nil. Embedding is nil, and status.
Has the opportunity spam status.
Okay. I realized that we needed, as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh no, I hope there's not swears or something inappropriate in it. Okay. And then now we're going to generate the embedding for that spam opportunity.
Are you as nervous as I am? Well, you're not. It's just like very calm. I'm just like sweating here and just like
You're nervous?
Yes. I'm excited. I'm not nervous. Excuse me.
Okay, so now check spam. I have to call it correctly. True.
Yes, we made it. How do you feel, Chad?
Wonderful. Let's do it for the one opportunity. False.
Yes. Hey. And that, a ginger drink.
Look at that timing too. Wow.
Right? It's 28.
90 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Wow.
Let's just make sure so we have the opportunity processor. Oops. So yeah, we're generating the embedding, then we're calling check and mark spam. That didn't require any change because we kept the API exactly the same. And now we'll mark it as spam.
I'm so happy. I did not know anything about embeddings, as some of you might have guessed. And now I know it, and we implemented it, which feels really good. We use Dinosaur. Next step, we're going to use AI to write answers to spam emails.
All right.
Yes.
Well, I mean, honestly, if that works, then why not just write responses to all of our inbound submissions?
No, please not.
Well, thank you for joining me today. As we were pretty successful, I probably need to do a little bit more testing to see whether it's good or bad on the checking. We don't want to just go to live with this and then have a bunch of legit submissions get marked as spam. But I feel pretty good about this overall in terms of approach and initial results. So thank you for joining me and working through this.
Thank you. And thank you for making the dinosaur not spam. That's all I wanted. That's why I came here. Thank you.
Ferdia is back tomorrow with our AI for Business series. I don't know exactly what he's going to be talking about, but I'm sure it's going to be awesome. Check out our channels for the exact timing for that in your local time zone. And I will be back next week. I actually think next week what we're going to be doing is, now that we'll have all opportunities being embedded. Speaking of spam, thank you. A spam comment just got left in the chat. So what we'll do is, now that we have opportunities being embedded, we can hook that into auto re-embed anytime it changes. And then we can do the flip side. Instead of just screening for spam, like I was saying, like do some cool things later on in the process to find maybe the opportunities that are similar to this one that have good case studies. So I think that's what we'll do next time on AI in Focus. Thank you again, Svenja, for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, everybody, for watching. Dyson, thank you so much for your participation in the chat. You get the gold star today. And thanks, everybody else, for watching. No gold stars for you, though. And we'll see you next time.